Which very important piece, Richard Lang mini repeater. Would you please explain a little bit about the Richard Lang mini repeater?
Of course. First of all, happy to see each other live again.
Yes.
After 2 years,
Live,
which has been
yeah.
quite tough. And it's such a difference if we can just sit face to face and have a nice chat about, of course, what we love the most, the watches. And it's an exciting year this year. And the highlight, the technical highlight, is the Richard Lange minute repeater.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, I think most of the people say, hey, finally, you did a classical minute repeater. Because after the big grand complication in 2013, yes. I think most of the people expected us to just slim it down to an 1815 classical minute repeater. But then in 2015 we came with the Zeitwerk minute
yes.
repeater, which is a high-tech
very
piece.
Contemporary.
And of course with the decimal repeater,
mm-hmm.
and now the Richard Lange minute repeater, which is a very classical watch. So the case is only 39 millimeters and 9.7 millimeters thick, so it's quite slim, very elegant, platinum case, waterproof, and
waterproof?
It's waterproof minute repeater.
Oh wow!
And it has a 3-piece enamel dial.
Ah.
So all in house, and I'm very proud, and it sounds beautiful, very classical. So it sounds the hours in a low pitch tone, the quarters, high pitch, low pitch tone, and then the minutes, of course.
Do we have a chance to listen to this minute repeater?
But certainly, yes. I just, I could, if you would like to. We just could hear. It's 11:15 now here, 11 now in Glashütte, and it's the slide. It's also very classical. And 1 minute after the quarter. So
I found the quarter is like quicker than the rest of the minute repeater.
Yeah, and
is
we did
it
that
doing
on
on purpose?
Yeah, to have the highlight. Otherwise, it's the rhythm is quite slow because you should enjoy it. But the quarters are like ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, which really you need to hear it and you need to be able to count it. So that's why.
When we're talking about the minute repeater, I think every brand has their own concept about the sound of the brand. So what do you think the sound of the Lange Zone, or what would that be?
Yeah, we found, we looked for, most of the people look about, it has to be loud. First of all, you need to hear it. And if you buy a watch or own a watch like this, it's for you. It's not like you're sitting in the bus and everybody hears what you're wearing. So, and you should enjoy the striking, the richness and the fullness of the tone. So that's what we focused on. Of course, if you talk about a waterproof watch, it's always exciting to get out the sound. I can tell you this, we really went for the classical way. We have our tricks, but not a very high complicated case back or something like that. This is very classical solution. We have been experimenting very long to make the gongs appropriate like we wanted. There's a lot of trial and error how to make it. There's a lot of secrets, the myth, but and of course it's not only the gongs. It's the perfect collaboration between the gongs, the hammers, the weight of the gongs, the hammer springs, but also the case, the fixation to the case. So these are the points where we continuously worked on. After making the Zeitwerk minute repeater, we did, sounds great, waterproof, okay, we're good. No, we kept on working, and we still keep on working, on how to further improve is the wrong word, because if I would say improve, then it would be negative. We are happy with this, but to learn and to play, and with different case materials also.
I found the minute is like more lower tone. It's very like solid and lower tone of it.
Yeah.
Is it doing on the purpose as well?
Yeah.
To represent the spirit of Lange Zone?
Yeah.
You brought out very interesting things that you're saying that, because I think minute repeater is always like orchestra. There's a conductor maybe the watchmaker is the conductor to conduct every single technique. Especially you mentioned the gong. What would be the special technique for a Lange & Söhne to do in the mini repeater? The gong material or the fixation on the case or under wear?
I think it's the interaction between the gong, and when I talk about gong, it's the material, but also the treatment, the size, the diameter, and all things, but also how you fix the gong to the movement. The next step is also the hammer, how heavy the hammers are, and the hammer spring. That is the spring which brings the hammer towards the gong. But this watch also has a patented hammer locking system. Because what is happening? Everybody thinks, okay, this is the gong, this is the hammer. It's not happening. It's like this. And we have a system, a locking system, which keeps the hammer after it strikes, keeps the hammer away from the gong and allows the gong to vibrate freely. So you get a better effect. These are the things we built.
Is it only on the Richard Lange mini repeater or is all the
Sidewerk.
mini repeater?
Sidewerk, we also had that.
That's why we found the sound of the mini repeater from Lange & Söhne is very like strong and clear and like very solid.
I would call it, it's more a German sound. It's not so, mini repeater very fine and playful. I think ours are, I think when you hear our it's more a robust sound. Not a clumsy sound, but it's still fine, especially in platinum. The alloy platinum creates, for mini repeaters, a very pure, maybe not so loud, because many people think, oh, platinum is not good for mini repeaters. I do not agree. You mentioned a perfect example of the orchestra. The orchestra has musical instruments, you know, and you have, I'm a drummer, you have the snare drum. And the snare drum is the main drum of a drum kit. At home, I used to do studio work. I have 17 different snare drums. Of course, not in platinum, that would be crazy. But you have copper, you have brass, you have steel. Copper is the most expensive one, but does it sound best? No, it sounds warm and loud. Steel is cold, but even louder. So it's for each kind of song you recording, you use a different drum. It's the same. Platinum, for a mini repeater, is maybe not as loud, but very pure. Some call it clean. Some call it too clean. If you have pink gold, it's warm. It's like the copper comparing. It's like warmer. The white gold is, I always say, a little bit clumsier, louder. It misses the purity of the platinum. And of course, for us, Lange & Söhne, we had made the striking time Zeitwerk in a honey gold case, which is again completely different. That has the purity and richness of platinum, but a little bit of warmth from the pink gold. It's very interesting to play with. And we in the company can play with it. Unfortunately, you need to have all the watches. But
I also found the character of the mini repeater from Lange & Söhne. The sound itself is not, how do we put it, in the Switzerland way, it seems like the echo extension longer. So that's why the pitching by pitch will be like mixed together. They will have a harmony. But for the Lange & Söhne, it seems like not so many echo, but every sound is very like full. And so that is also the character one.
Yeah, I think this has something to do with the locking system and also with the speed of which we strike. Because, you know, if you have that watch and you activate it, it's a joy. It should be a moment of joy. There are mini repeaters, to my opinion, are way too fast. Ding, 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 ding. What time was it? And the speed is not too fast, not extremely slow. But for us, if you have the time, like 12:59, which is the longest way to strike, we take about 23, 21 seconds. That's a bit of goal we have to adjust for the watchmaker. And the watchmaker can adjust it because we have a fly governor, again a new one. We didn't just put the one from Zeitwerk in this watch. In that point, this minute repeater is completely different than the minute repeater of the Zeitwerk. This is a very classical one with the racks. So you pull up the slide, and then you have an all or nothing point, and then the racks fall down, and the deeper the racks fall, the more strikes you have. So, and Zeitwerk, it was not able to do that because the time indication is completely different because of the numerals. So we have to find another way of defining the way how the watch strikes. It's a completely different approach, which is again very interesting for us as developers because we learn to make the grand complication, which is very classical, which is of course a grande sonnerie, and then we did a modern approach of the Zeitwerk minute repeater, which is completely different, and this is the pure of the pure classics. This is really classic.
I also found the hammer from this Richard Lang minute repeater. It seems like the hammer is slender than the other. Is it so?
No, you took good notice. The Zeitwerk, due to the fact that everything is on a dial, the hammers are flatter, thinner, but bigger. Here, it's the opposite. It's smaller, but higher.
Ah, so thicker.
Yeah, it's a little bit thicker. Well, we're talking about,
Higher, yes, higher.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why the sound can be strong. And also at the same time, when you look at the movement, you will see the slender, the elegancy of the movement itself.
You know what is interesting also we try to create a movement. You pull up the slide and you wind a little spring. And you always need to find, that's for all minute repeaters, to find you want to have a strong spring because you have a lot of, and you can work with steeper angles, so you have a more attack. But on the other hand, if you have a stronger spring, it goes faster.
Yeah.
And by a fly governor, in fact, that is destroying energy because it breaks the energy which wants to go out because you want to have the whole cycle. You want to have more or less in the same rhythm. So that's the craftsmanship of the excellent watchmakers who are able to build. I think it's the summit of complications is grande sonnerie, petite sonnerie, minute repeaters.
And also when we're talking about fly and governor, it's actually sometimes people will get very annoyed about the sound of it, but it's actually will exist anyway. But I found this Richard Lang minute repeater, we can barely hear anything.
Yeah, and that's the idea.
It's a truly masterpiece.
Yeah, my opinion is if you work with you have two systems, classical systems. You have the lever, the little classical, the regulator lever, of which it's quite easy to adjust the speed with, but makes a little bit of noise on the background. With the fly governor, it should be silenced because that's why you put in a fly governor. So if you put in a fly governor, then you better work on it that it's silenced. You don't hear it. And we managed to get it very silent. Although the grand complication, the grande sonnerie and the minute repeater and the grand complication, it is a classical system with a lever. But we have some tricks over there. And also in the grand complication, you hardly hear the little lever. So it's all to do with the adjustments. Another point I think is also our watch cases are quite solid always for all langers because the lugs are soldered on and it needs to have a good fixation. If you have very thin cases, you hear everything, also the sounds you don't want to hear.
True.
So so we are talking about. I think we are talking about 15 minutes about all the different aspects of the regulating the minute repeater. So I think it's a good implication how complex it is, and
not only in the movement, also about the balance and technique and everything to bring in.
Yeah, it's nice. I really love to build striking watches at that time when I was still working as a watchmaker. Sometimes I miss it, and the most fantastic moment is, as a watchmaker, you have been working for weeks, months, to assemble the movement, and there are the gongs, and you put them in, and you hear and adjust. But the supreme moment is when you case the watch up, and then you tune the gongs, and then it comes alive. So after weeks of glowing, okay, it works, okay, good, and then you're casing it up, and then it's a long process. You case it up, and you put the gongs in, you hear, okay, maybe I can take a little bit away give it more vibration. But if you go too far, you have too much vibration and no attack. So you have to find the balance. And if you go too far, and it can be one stroke by a diamond file, just at one stroke too much, you have more and no attack. You can get new gongs and start all over again. That's quite exciting. But then the watch comes alive. It's really, it's fun. It's fantastic.
I think we all know that most of the watch from Richard Lang collection has a constant force. And this one has also constant force?
No. No. Our goal was really to really stay very slim, and the main focus is the minute repeater, and to just build in a constant force for having a constant force without an indication. The fun part, what we do is, we do not have watches with constant force remontoire systems for having the sake of it. So so we could say, oh, this, you don't see it, or because if you have the Lange 31, there it was necessary to put in that system, as well as the Zeitwerk. That was for us the only solution which guaranteed the numerals switch really at when the second comes up, and coping with the energy, the huge energy we need to move the disc, which is way too much for the small escapement. And the Richard Lange jumping second is almost could say logical thinking. You know, we work with the Lange 31 and the Terra Luna Richard Lange. They have a remontoire escapement which jumps every 10 seconds. Zeitwerk which jumps every minute. And then we said, what happens if you jump every second? So every second it's recharged. Does it still work? Yeah, it still works. So, and that's the Richard Lange jumping second, because the jumping second is a result of having that constant force which recharges every second. Because I was never fond of making a jumping second, because jumping seconds is more for watch movements. And a mechanical watch, make it look with a lot of complex mechanism, make it look like a quartz watch. I don't know if that really my thing. It's a homage to what's happened in the past. We did, of course, this very special project to honor Walter Lange. That's what we did, because he really loved it. And I think it's also it used to be the first patent in Germany, which was by his great-grandfather Ferdinand Adolf Lange, for the stoppable jumping second. So that's what we did for Walter Lange. But that is really exclusive to honor Walter Lange, because of all the things he did. So in this watch, no remontoire system.
But actually, Richard Lang collection is paid a tribute to the Lange & Söhne, the family spirit and watchmaking heritage. And also, when you do the mini repeater this time, and is any like heritage you track to see what would be like, and what do you want to put in this masterpiece of the mini repeater?
Now, first, although Lange had in the past pocket watches with minute repeaters or grand sonneries, all these movements were never made here. They were all bought from Switzerland. So in Glashütte, the little village over here, also at that point with different watch brands, never had the culture as you had in the Vallée du Joux in Switzerland. There were the masters of the minute repeaters and the grand complication. I think for Glashütte was more timekeeping. Precision timekeeping, chronometers, the whole thing. Richard Lange, oldest son of Ferdinand Adolf Lange, long time technical director, had a lot of inventions and patents on timekeeping. For us, minute repeater today, I think it's very important that a brand like Lange & Söhne develops his own repeaters. And we could have gone to my ex-colleagues in Switzerland and say, okay, can we integrate your minute repeater into a Lange or a Lange movement, and you have that's not the thing. I think, and that's what we started the long process, like we worked 7.5 years to make the grand complication. That was the first project where we had to trial and error how to make gongs, do the hammers and all the stuff like that. And that's very happy to work in a company who says, okay, that's a good idea, let's go. Without knowing, saying, okay, you have to be ready in 2 years. No, not possible, mission impossible. So we did that in 7.5 years to just establish We want to know striking watches, minute repeaters and all. And then the next step, site work, and this is again. And this time we said, okay, where does the classical minute repeater... we could have done it in the 1815. Who knows? It's a matter of design also for us. And we said, no, we're going to comply. And sometimes I think it's also a little bit like we did with Sidetrack Minute Repeater. Because I know the journalists and all the collectors asked me in 2014, Minute Repeater? Classical one? No, maybe not. And then we came with Sidetrack Minute Repeater, decimals, everybody was like, oh, wow. And that's the element of surprise. That's the bit of fun part for us. I hope a little bit that people are as surprised as they were at that time. So like, oh, Richard Lange, I would not expected that. So,
true.
So that's more. And technical, most of the complicated watches are technical, of course. So it fits for me perfectly in the Richard Lange. It's very classic, and especially with the beautiful 3-piece enamel dial, which is really the highest level of enamel dials, and a big compliment to the team. We are working on enamel dials since 2010. It was quite an experiment, I can tell you.
It is.
The first watch we launched was the Lange 1 Handwerkskunst in 2014. It's the black enamel, and then we did other things, and now we even learned more because the printing on the dial and the burning of the printing, which is also a risky business, we did in-house. So we first learned to make the dials, and there were dials we made in-house but we sent away to print, and now we do everything in-house. So we worked the last 3-4 years to get the printing done, which is quite tricky, which is again another aspect. An advantage is we are able to make beautiful things, but it also keeps the team very fit. Because you're challenging yourself. We challenge ourselves. We want to learn. We're a bit annoyed that we make beautiful enamel dials we send away to print. No, we want to do the print. Okay, let's try. So that's an adventure.
But we see a very classic, beautiful piece here.
And not too thick.
Yes, not
we
too
stayed
thick.
under the 10 millimeters. For us at Lange, right? Because I know some people say, yeah, I love Lange, but they're also thick. Always so thick. if the watch so Lange is thick, that has a reason, because there's technique inside. If a watch is big, there's technique. You will never see a Lange with a case like this and a movement like this. It doesn't fit for us. And the disadvantage we have is the gold chaton. You know, the little gold chatons, which is a very important element for us. You need to have extra thickness to fix the little screws, and that's a disadvantage. So we could make maybe also an extra thin watch, although we have very good colleagues who do magnificent ultra thin watches, and let them do their job. They do perfect and we do our thing. So